I'm Sarah Burke, and this is the Women in Media podcast. I'm excited to welcome, I'm going to call her an old pal. We crossed paths a long time ago when I was in my first radio promo gig back in London, Ontario. We had a mutual friend, and you were doing traffic reports at the time. Do I have this right? My guest today is Cristina Howorun.
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, no, I was a chopper chick. I was doing, traffic reports flying around the city of Toronto. Somebody that had no sense of direction, but still trying to we were all breaking in, right? Breaking into the industry at the time.
And now I can call her a national and international award-winning journalist. You're currently with CityTV. You're set up in an editing bay at City now?
I am. This is not the most glamorous location at all. A little bit cramped.
No, you're
my
fine.
laptop is being propped up by a box of cookies that I found in the cafeteria. But it works. It works. We make it work.
So there's so much I want to talk to you about. You've been a reporter covering a lot of really hard-hitting news. You have a personal story that has also brought you back to the news in a totally different way. I think I will start with the day-to-day, just as it relates to your current gig at City. Are you doing a lot of covering the upcoming election?
I am. I'm actually, I do the magic map.
Okay.
So I essentially have to know, 300 plus ridings and the history of those ridings and be able to kind of go and touch the map, and we'll see how this all pans out. I was okay with Ontario, but the country as a whole, it's a lot of data to really not just memorize, but to actually have an understanding of. So, but yes, I'm not filing day to day right now. I'm actually working on special projects. I've been doing documentaries, specials that I've aired out West. And then now I'm working on more local stories, but just in a longer form.
Yeah.
So not day to day.
Got it. And is that because of your health, which we're going to get into, or just your choice in how you want to work right now?
No, I was working in documentaries for 5 years when everything kind of happened.
Yeah.
And cities just were working on different things. And so the best place for me as an enterprise and investigative journalist isn't to be doing day to day. And this actually happens to work really well with my health condition.
That's amazing.
So a lot more flexibility. If I put in a 14 or 16 hour day, great. If the next day I can only put in 4 or 5. Yeah. Okay. As long as I hit my deadlines.
So let's hit a little bit of what's gone on since we met, which I think I'm going to say was I want to say 2000. It could be anywhere from 2009 to 2011. And from traffic reporter to now, some of the various gigs that you sort of had in between.
In 2009, I got my first full-time daily news job, and that was at CityTV Windsor. So then I moved to Windsor for a couple of years, and then I kind of did that trek up the 401 that you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I moved to London for a couple of years, and I worked for CTV London, and then CityTV hired me in Toronto, and then I've been here for 10 years now. I mean, the last 5, you haven't seen me lots on TV because I've been doing documentaries that take months or specials that take weeks or working on different assignments. So it's been a really good run. Yeah.
And if I'm picking up what you're putting down, you enjoy having more time to explore a topic or a story than just the day to day. So this is much more up your alley. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Okay. This is I literally have my dream job. It's the documentaries, and then what I'm doing now. I've had, I'll say 3 weeks into a story where I go, you know what? This stuff isn't credible enough and we have to pull the plug. But this story, the kind of things that we wouldn't even be able to look into if I had to file day to day, or if I didn't have the time to actually fact check every single part of somebody's story or put together the case. Things that might have gone out without having the depth that you need.
Yeah. Okay. So take me back to discovering that you had a health condition.
Well, the first time, because there's a 2-timer here, right?
Yeah.
It was 2018, and I had just gotten back from Thailand, and it was, I was really excited to be back and home, but it was cold outside. And so I started just getting sick, and I thought, this is like a jet lag on steroids. It's been weeks since I've been back. Why am I still so sick? And I just started having all these symptoms. I was so scratchy or itchy that I would scratch until I bled.
Oh my God.
I had insomnia, but I was exhausted nonstop. I could sleep, sleep while walking. But then if it was nighttime and I was trying to go to bed, I couldn't do it. And I had restless leg syndrome. So I had all of these bad things happening, but nothing that I could actually pinpoint to what was wrong. So I went to the doctors, and my blood pressure was through the roof, and we did blood work. And I wasn't in a rush to get my blood work. It's not like I ran out of the doctor's office like, oh, this is urgent. Like nobody thought it was a big deal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I probably waited a week before I even did the blood tests. And then I'm out on a story.
Just to make you feel better, I just did blood work that my doctor gave to me in August 2024. Okay.
Oh gosh.
So you're not the only. I feel like with some of these things, we're just like, we'll get to it when we get to it. We live our busy
Right.
lives, and this is probably to the detriment of so many women's health conditions. So please
Well, it
continue.
didn't seem like a big deal. If your requisition from August felt like a big deal or any sense of urgency, you would have done it by now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at this press conference and I'm so tired that I'm literally sitting like a kindergartner on the floor. And I'm complaining to everybody, like, I can't believe we don't have chairs for the media. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, and I'm sitting on the floor, like I can't even stand. During this time, my phone's ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And I don't answer it. I get to the car with my cameraman and I'm checking my voicemails. And I've got two voicemails from my doctor's office. While I'm checking them, it is another physician from there saying, we have your blood work. You have to go to the hospital now. Like, you are in kidney failure. And I'm like, I got to get this story out. It was a good story. I really wanted to. It really was. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was like, this was breaking news. And it was like, we'll go right after I go live. And my cameraman, God bless him, was just like, no. Like, I'm taking you, pick your hospital. We're in Brampton right now. Like, you're going to a hospital. So I went and, I'm there in like, my TV brock, like I'm wearing a blue skirt suit and like high heels. And, I've got an IV in my arm and nobody believes that I'm in kidney failure until they get my test results that they check again. And I am, and I only had 8% kidney function. And that was, that was brutal.
And this is during your time at City, right? In this last decade. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so what goes through your head? Are you thinking about the story that you were trying to file?
No, at this point,
it's
over.
No. Okay.
Yeah. I knew I had to spend the night at the hospital. I was, my father had kidney disease and had a kidney transplant. This was genetic, but sick kids in every hospital I'd ever been to, because this is like, the 80s and 90s. They just said I probably wasn't going to get it. Mm-hmm. So it was something in the back of my mind, but it was like, I'm probably not going to get it. I should be fine. And I've always eaten a kidney healthy diet. I didn't have a lot of the signs that my dad had. So I thought I would be okay. And then I just remember sitting there and thinking about my dad being on dialysis and how this would just kill my mom. And I was like, I kept it a secret for the first, 20 hours. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't want to call my sister. I didn't want to call my brother or my mom. Like, I needed to figure it out before, I let them know, because I knew how damaging this disease was to our family. Like, my dad died at 50, right? Like, I just didn't want everybody to panic if I didn't have a solution. And then, I had to do peritoneal dialysis, which is dialysis in your stomach. And I was lucky that my partner was like, we'll do this at home, and took care of everything and made it a lot easier for me. And my mom was trying to get tested to be a donor, and she was ultimately ruled out. And then my cousin Christine just saved my life. As soon as she found out that my mom was ruled out, she's like, I'm in. And she knew she was a perfect match. And, or she knew that we had the same blood type, and families and things like that are always better. And so she went through the process, and about 6 months later, I got her kidney. And I love this part of my story, Sarah, is that I am not a sports fan. I know when to cheer for the Leafs and things like that, but
yeah, I almost wore my Leafs jersey to this interview, but I figured just in case in a few weeks, by the time this comes out, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, I get it. Also, you don't want to jinx it. I woke up and it was June 13th, 2019, which is the day that the Raptors won the NBA championship.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm in Toronto General, downtown Toronto, and it backs out onto, or my room backed out onto University Avenue, and it's 11:30 midnight. And so the whole street is just everybody screaming, and it's the whole city is on fire with celebrations. And I woke up and it's all behind me, because that's where the window is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I dead? Is this heaven and angels? Is this I really remember thinking this. And then it was oh no, I woke up from this massive surgery to cheers on the street. So I kind of felt that was this really nice moment. And it was a really, really important gift, because going through that process from my cousin's end, there's a little bit of an age gap between us. I mean, she's got kids that are married, right? So there's we didn't grow up in the same, we'd see each other at family functions, but it's not like we went to parties together or, things like that. And
How many years between you guys?
15.
Okay.
Right. So like a big age gap, right?
Yeah.
Not massive. And trust me, she looks better than me. So, and she's gorgeous, but yeah, she's a bit older, and she's a very charitable person. Like, she does a lot of charity work anyways, but this is like next level. And like, I can remember going to a bridal shower when I was a small kid and being like, asking around, like, how do I get Christine's eyelashes or her cheekbones when I get older? Like, how do I get to look like that? And it was like, she gave me something so much better, right? Like, she
Oh
actually
my
saved my
God.
life. The doctor said after the surgery and after my transplant, they're like, we don't think she would have made it through the summer. So like, I was close. Like, I
Oh
was
my
at
God.
death's door.
So before
Yeah.
we move on, like, let's talk about the 6 months, in there. First of all, how does it impact your life as a journalist? Second of all, how does it change your personal life?
So I'll say that time it was difficult, but I felt very confident that I was getting this kidney from Christine, and I also felt I didn't have any of this worry, right?
Mhm.
Like, it gave me a chance to really use my platform to talk about kidney disease and to raise awareness about kidney disease, and to have very unflattering photos and videos of me at post-transplant, because we documented it all, because it is a really interesting disease. It's something that a lot of people just transplants. The fact that you could take an organ from somebody else that's alive and put it into somebody else and it just works is crazy to me. So like, we really documented this, and I did a lot of work for the Kidney Foundation and for supporting organ donation. Like, I felt like it was
Back
in a
in your
very
own
positive
way.
position, right?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of, not that I didn't know I was going to, it's different. I think at the time I would have thought I was nervous, but this is a different level, because now I'm in round 2 of this, and
Right.
this one hurts.
During that time, we will get to this new phase too, but during that time, did you like stop work altogether? Did you but
So I did continue to work. I worked 3 days a week. Like, I instead of working,
the
because
full?
dialysis that I was doing at home was 10 to 12 hours a night. So me, you know what it is when it's like in broadcasting, like, there's no 8-hour day. So I
Yeah.
was really struggling to actually get the whole treatment done, 10 to 12 hours. Like, I'd get home and have to hook up to my machine. It's like this tube in your stomach
It's
that just,
daily.
it's every day.
Yeah.
That was this one. It's kind of like a more mild thing. Yes, but it's every day. And you go to sleep with it on and it's fine. You sleep through it all, but you still have to be hooked up to the machine. So I was
Mm.
working 3 days a week. And then after my transplant, I slowly started coming back to work full time.
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
And I don't know about you with like this industry that we've sort of grown up in, both of us, that hustle kind of factor. Like, if I was sick and, at home hooked up to a machine, I still know that my brain would be like, I need to turn this into a project. I need to do this. I need,
Yep.
like, I wouldn't be able to let it go to heal. And I wonder, just in your mind, were you trying to keep busy? Did you have like that FOMO thing?
I still do, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not on a leave now. I very much did. And I think that's probably why I decided, like, we documented the process for Shadow Lane. We did like before and after. We did like for City News. I know that I still get people reaching out to me from all around the world being like, thank
Amazing.
you for showing me how peritoneal works, and like actually showing me how this works, or thanks for this. Because maybe the audience wasn't just the general news people, but I knew that there'd be people, because I was looking for information a lot of times. And I
Yeah.
couldn't find somebody that wasn't a scientific journal, or that wasn't the sad story, right? Like, it was like, no,
Yeah.
here's just the facts. Like, this is what happened, and this is
Yeah.
what's going to happen, and this is how they're going to determine this. And here's the doctors and blah. And it was kind of neat because I got to interview my doctors and the surgeons,
That is cool.
right? So I feel like
Yeah.
there's like maybe a little bit of an added pressure, like, don't screw this up because you like really don't want to look bad. No,
No.
but it was kind of nice, right? Like, to actually be able to not ask them as a patient, but as a journalist. I probably
Yeah.
found out much more that way too.
Probably, I would say.
Yeah.
And a nice, healthy sort of distraction from everything, I guess,
Yeah.
while you were hustling through all that. Okay. So now, you've been living with that kidney. And so we're in round 2 of this, which I hate saying out loud because, like you said, you've You've really like dedicated so much of your work to putting the spotlight on this as well. So, was it a complication from COVID that I read?
That's what different doctors, or that's what the physicians at different hospitals, that's the consensus that they've come up to. I mean, it's practicing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still a lot of things that aren't known about COVID, but
Yes.
it seems consistent with things that have been found in other COVID patients or patients
Okay.
that, yeah.
So I know I like read a little bit about your post, but for anyone who's just like coming into this conversation, like what do they think is what happened because you had COVID?
So what they think happened was I had COVID a couple years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
But just before I hit the 5-year mark of my new kidney, um, my numbers, my function started dropping a lot. Like you can live a whole life with 40% function of a kidney,
As we know,
right?
because you were still reporting at 8%.
Oh yeah, right. But you can, even when you only have one
Yeah.
kidney, if you're the don't, you live off of like 35, 36%, no problem. Mine just started dropping and they couldn't figure it out. Like they did biopsy and another biopsy and lots of tests, and we increased my meds. We did all these things because everything I was doing was right. Like I was doing what you're supposed to do, taking your meds on time, going to the regular blood work, eating proper, having the occasional pickle, but nothing like nothing,
Pickle.
bad. And they think that COVID got into my new kidney, which is in my stomach or lower abdomen, and just kind of lived there, and it just started eating away at it because it's all scarred. And,
Mm.
now my function is at about 7 or 8% again.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're right back there.
Right back there. Like I'm on dialysis.
Right now, yeah. Did you feel like the symptoms of the failure and the levels going low? Like what were your first signs of that?
My first sign was actually in the summertime. I was in Lake Huron and I woke up one day and my feet looked like Flintstones feet or Hobbit feet. Like they were just like, I didn't have an ankle. Like it was just, I'd never seen anything like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? So, I immediately call my transplant team and they're like, okay, we're prescribing you meds, go to Grand Bend, go get some more meds, like blah, blah. And like, as soon as you come home in 48 hours, you're coming in for more tests and not a problem.
Okay.
And again, it was just like, maybe I wasn't drinking enough water. Like we were just trying to figure it out. It wasn't until the wintertime that it got really bad. Like I would find myself, I would do a lot of work from home. I was shooting this whole time, like in Alberta quite a bit. And I would come home and I would like pass out on the couch at 4 p.m. Like just,
Yeah.
no, like I'll just sit here for 5 minutes and I'll get back to work. And it was like, no, I'd pass out. But other than that, no, like I didn't have big symptoms.
Yeah. So it's the
It's a
fatigue is a big thing. Yeah.
it's a very silent disease. It's not painful per se. It's just,
Yeah.
it's exhausting.
We're going to continue like talking about some of the stories that you've covered and the amazing work that you've done in journalism, but I mean the timing of this is because we need to find this girl another kidney. So maybe you can tell me about your experience with the transplant situation and what you learned through the process. Like what would have happened if your cousin didn't come forward and now you're better equipped this time to know kind of where to look.
So I mean, anybody that needs a transplant can get a transplant through a living donor.
Mm-hmm.
If you are eligible to get a transplant. You can't even be on the transplant wait list until you've started dialysis for kidneys. So because I am in an O blood, I could take O positive or O negative, but I have a 7 to 10 year wait to get a kidney through the deceased donor list. And I'm unlikely to live that long. I don't have, it's not like a cancer diagnosis where they go, you got 3 to 6 months. It's just, I'm not likely to make it to the 7-year mark. So
Yeah.
I do need a living donor. And it's a tough process. Like I'll tell you, the funniest thing is that my cousin knew she was a match with me for a couple of months, but they build into the system delays so that the donor has a chance to back out, right? Because you want them to not feel coerced.
Yeah.
So at the end, she thought that I had been in communication with the donor team the whole time. They can't tell the recipient anything. Like I was in the dark. So my cousin had known maybe for about a month that we were having a transplant on June 13th. I had no idea. I got an email like a week before that was like a list of appointments. And it was like, June 9th, do this, June 11th. And then just like it was nothing. It said like June 13th, transplant surgery. And I was like, what? This is a mistake. So I
And
called her and she's like, yeah.
she knew, but also knew not to tell you?
No, she could have told me, but she
Okay.
thought that I knew. She didn't realize that they weren't telling me because they try to respect the donor's privacy so that
Sure.
they have an opportunity to back out and they could say, oh, we just weren't a match or whatever the reason might be, but they have an opportunity to. She thought that I just wasn't calling her because I was nervous and she didn't know what to do about this. She's like, it's so weird. Like, why aren't you calling me? Like, don't you want to like talk about this? And it was instead, I was like, I had no idea because they want to respect the privacy of the donor. And I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
and it was a
that
thing
makes a
like
lot of sense.
when you try to give or a part of your liver or certainly with your kidneys, they give you like a head to toe physical. Like they need to make sure everything with you is okay. So a lot of people do get ruled out because they find something that would
Mm,
have gone undetected until it turned into something. But they go through a whole process and they only look at one person at a time.
mm.
That's what takes so long. So, I've had a few people submit, but they haven't found a match yet. And they
Damn.
don't just search everybody at once. It's like, well, go through this person first because they look like they're going to be the best match on paper. And then after a month, it's like, sorry, you're not. And like it took a long time. Like my partner went through this, my brother, I'm running out of kidney options within my family.
Yeah.
There's only so many to go around.
So the next step, like if it's not in family, would be anyone with the same blood type. Is that
Yes.
how that works? Okay.
Yes.
So if you have O type blood, please,
Yes.
if you need help getting in touch with Cristina, you send me a DM or you send her a DM. We're gonna find someone. I'm telling you, we have to just like keep this conversation going. I imagine that during, this second search for the kidney, like you got to be writing a book or something. Has this turned on any other areas of your brain to do something a little different than journalism?
No.
No?
You would think, right?
There's still time. Whatever.
Yeah, like I really like telling people stories and I
Yeah.
really like finding things and going places that
Yeah.
other people haven't, right? Like I'm obsessed with telling people from prison stories and like
Yeah.
finding out gun smugglers and then giving voices to victims, right? Like
Yes.
I'm talk to me if I was doing a different kind of journalism, but this is like I'm literally getting paid to do like the most fun thing for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Okay. So you're leading me right into it. Back in the day, you would have been covering different stories than you are now as like a seasoned award-winning journalist.
Right.
But give me some of those like very first stories that completely changed, your career.
Ah, you know, I was very, very fortunate. And one of my first bosses was very encouraging. And I got to do stories that I had no business doing. But that's the beauty of starting your career in a smaller market. Like nobody should
Yeah.
start their career, in my view, in a
Yeah.
big, huge market where you're fetching coffee or you're just running. You need to do somewhere where you can really get your hands dirty. And I had probably been on the job for 5 months. It was 5 months.
Windsor, London, where are we?
Windsor.
Okay.
So I'm green,
Okay.
and I'm covering a murder suicide that happened in this small community. And I'm interviewing this woman, and she says, I wouldn't have been home except I had breast cancer surgery. And so I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. She's like, well, I didn't have cancer. What? So I filed my story about the murder suicide on her street. I'm like, let's find this out. So I stayed at her, stayed there for a while. We went with lots of coffee, and I found out that she'd had a mastectomy in error. I spent the next couple of days or maybe a week or so driving her around the community, getting all of her paperwork from the hospitals so I could confirm this because she tried to get a lawyer and she was, she just didn't have the socioeconomic status and things like that to make it happen
Yeah.
for her. And got the evidence and it was like, oh no, it was clear as day that it said right on there, like non-cancerous. And the surgeon went ahead with it anyways. And I told this story with a lot of like lawyers involved and things. And it turned into a massive national story. But what's more is that I was able to uncover that the hospital had been covering up bad pathology results just because they couldn't answer a lot of questions and it didn't make sense. So it was like this, I found this, and then I realized there was this whole thing over here that they were trying to, I don't want to say
Web
cover
of
up.
lies. A web
Yeah.
of lies.
The province ended up taking over the hospital and put it under provincial supervision. So like, this is my first big story. And it was one of those, like, it was my story, right? Like, it wasn't like
You
somebody,
asked those questions. You're the one who like took it to the
yeah.
next level and didn't leave that lady at her home. You stayed and you drove her around and
Yeah, well, you got to find out, right? And I think I've been really lucky because I got that experience so early in that I've kind of always chased something like that.
yeah,
Like
you don't
maybe
know
not.
any other way.
That's just it. And I had a good boss that was like, yeah, like you're probably not going to be able to change things. And I was like, yeah, I am. Well, like there's no way you don't get away with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so
Was
that was a good
that
one.
was that boss a man or a
It was
woman?
a man. His name was Adrian Bateman. He's no
Cool.
longer in news. He's long retired, but yeah, Adrian Bateman, good boss.
Cool. Cool. Talk to me about your experience as a woman in the industry. I mean, we are on the Women in Media podcast.
Oh yeah. I think we all have had like the
Yeah.
bad boss story, right? Um, I've had a lot of that, but I've
Mhm.
also had really good supportive people. Like I work with a couple of really incredible journalists. So Cynthia Mulligan, I work alongside her a lot, and she's just incredible. And she really does work to kind of lift people up, and
Mm.
that's really nice because I got to work alongside her at Queens Park for a couple of years right before COVID, and you know, she was clearly the senior reporter in this situation. And yet, like, sometimes she'd be like, yeah, no, you can go look into that. And like, this will be the better story. But like, you go do that. Like, I'm not, you thought of it. Like, you don't have to hand it over to me just because I'm, you know,
That's
the bureau
amazing.
chief, which is nice. Cause I don't know if like a lot of other places would have people like that.
I would say those people are few and far between, for sure.
Yeah. Avery Haynes is too. She works at W5, but she started at City.
Yeah.
And I love Avery quite a bit. Like she checks in on me on a regular basis. She still bounces ideas off me, but I more importantly bounce ideas off of her because she's just got
Yeah.
this breadth of experience, and she's just a really tough go-getter. And I love that about her. Like I'm really
Yeah.
lucky to have friends like this.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's like your like women's crime community right there. That's so good to
Yeah,
have.
I'm really really lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there an experience, and we'll move on if there isn't, but is there an experience where you've had to stand up for yourself and you have sort of felt like it was literally because you're a woman, or you've been fortunate to not have that situation?
I've been very fortunate to not have that situation, but I will say this: I think it's because I stand up all the time
Hmm.
that I think it would be very difficult. I'm really loud,
Yeah.
right? If that makes sense. And
Oh yeah.
I've had some very conservative bosses that have let me do stories about, right to work legislation and travel around to do things, contrary to their beliefs. Like I just feel like it's a little bit harder to do that to me. I don't know. Maybe I started this career a little bit older than other people. I don't know.
Yeah, what were you doing before? Because I know that you're a little bit older than me, but I remember that you were just starting your career when I was.
Yeah. So I worked for the federal government. So
Right.
I have a master's degree in Canadian politics. And so I was part of this executive program for, for the federal government, making way more money. Like it took me many years to earn the same salary that I had like then. Cause it was a very I was a senior executive. I left that to go be a traffic reporter and make 40 grand a year, like less than
Oh
half
my
of
God.
what I was earning.
And what was the pivotal moment that you were like, I don't want this anymore?
Um, I saw there was a couple of things. The first was it took a year for my job to start from the application to the start. So like to the end, and you're not going to just take a crummy job. And I was in a bit of a fortunate situation. So I was playing at journalism while I waited for my
Okay.
career to start.
Okay.
Right. And I really liked it. And then I started my career and there was a lot of governmental waste. And it made me very upset because I think that you know this, like when you're starting your career, you're working at places and a lot of times they're like, you have to buy your own headphones. And you're like, I make minimum wage and you're making me spend $150 on these. Like, so to be in a government institution where there was just so much
These are from
waste.
SiriusXM, but I didn't say that.
But you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
a thing. And then the kind of work that I was doing, I was getting it should have been stories and it shouldn't have been confidential. So when I got a phone call saying from my rock patrol days saying, we think that you'd be a great traffic reporter. I was like, yes, I will wake up at 3:00 in the morning and
Yeah.
make very little money and be freezing all day in a chopper. And, but then it was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to put all my eggs in a basket, right? Like it was, I would say those were the hardest 3 or 4 years of my life because I went back to school full time. I was working full time. I was writing technology pieces. I'm not a tech expert, like just doing whatever I could to like keep my foot in the door, make it so as soon as I got out, I had full-time work and like,
It's amazing.
I gave everything up, right? So I had to like really invest in me.
We give up to, especially to work those hours. We give up a lot of things as women. Like I don't have kids. I can't even imagine doing this stuff with kids.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm single right now, but like, it's almost like a chunk of the life that you would spend with a partner is being dedicated to the career, a lot of the time. So personally, how have you found that part of this industry?
It's not easy, right?
No,
Like,
no.
Right when I was, and this is the truth, is when I was first diagnosed, the reason why I actually went, because I wanted to find out if I was still, I was still in my mid 30s, but I had really high blood pressure and I was feeling sick. And I was like, I should go check this out in case like this will impact my fertility, because it's not like you can like, and I know that some reporters and some broadcasters do figure out a way to pull it off and like have children young and they do all these things.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, but that's one of the reasons that like here I was at 35 checking to see if I could have kids and finding out, oh no, you got kidney disease. Like,
Is that something they tell you right away? You have no chance at having kids when you have kidney disease?
When you do have kidney disease, you can have children. It's very complicated. You have different doctors that you have to go to. You factor in age. Once you get a transplant, you cannot even try to have children for at least a year. And it has to be done under supervision because some of the drugs that they give you will have massive birth defects, but they have to slowly transition. It's a whole thing. It's a different world. It does happen for some people. I don't know if it happens very often for women that are in their early 40s and broadcasters. Right. And I still would have to wait another year anyways. It's very difficult. I think that, and what I do find is I'm in awe of reporters and journalists and broadcasters and who figure out a way to stay in the industry afterwards and do it in a meaningful way.
Yes.
Because I don't know if I'd be able to juggle that.
Yeah, there's a lot of women who have come on this podcast and they tell stories of how they made it work and the great bosses along the way that have, there's got to be a lot of really great people surrounding you to make all of that happen, I think.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I've seen some bosses that have not forced, but some bosses that seem to encourage new moms to leave, or there happen to be a lot of reporters that left, but under different bosses, they figure out ways to make it work.
For sure. Yeah. So what is your view on, how you separate your personal life and your professional life as it pertains to like social media and like being a public personality?
My social media is, as I assume that somebody that doesn't like me is going to look at it. So I share some personal things, but usually it's about my dogs.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's always safe. Yep.
And I think that it's just important to try and keep everything separate.
Yeah.
Because you have to, I know that there are people that have sent me horrible messages saying like, how dare you ask people for a kidney? Like, who do you think you are? Just mean things that
journalism is under attack right now, for sure.
Yeah. So I just think that you have to be very cognizant of what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want somebody to find something that I write today and 6 years from now say like, I can't believe you wrote that. Like, and sometimes that happens, right? Terms change and things like that. But like, I'm just very, and I tell that to any young person that I meet. I'm like, oh, just watch, like, stop
the digital footprint.
Yeah, just stop. Like, don't. I know you look cute in that. You don't want your potential boss to see that and that be their judgment. Well, that's on them. No, it isn't. It's also on you. Like, just don't put it out there.
Was that a hard decision for you to make, to share so much about the kidney journey because of like trying to separate those two things?
It was at the first, like the first round one,
Yeah.
it wasn't that difficult because I felt like I was doing not a service, but I felt like I was helping to promote the cause and I was
Yeah.
sharing my experience. And if this time it took me a long time, like I've been on dialysis for, by the time this airs, a year.
Yeah.
And I only went public in March.
Right. Which is at the time of this recording, like a month and a half ago. So,
Yeah. Like it's, that one was hard. But this is a life or death situation for me.
of course.
And,
Yeah. So you're kind of
once,
just like, that's the part I have to get over to,
yeah.
yeah, to try and fight for the life. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I have it better than some other people, right? Like I've already had a chance, but I didn't squander this chance, right? Like I
No.
didn't, I think, I don't know. I feel like I did good with it. Like
Yeah.
even last summer, I was in Alberta, filming a documentary about, prison, rehabilitation, right? Spending time with a killer and like when he gets out, is he actually going to be rehabilitated? Spending time with violent offenders and like doing all of these things. And then we'd be doing 14-hour shoot days. And then it's like, okay, tomorrow you guys all have it easy because I have dialysis. So we're only doing 6. Right. And like,
Yeah.
I'd have to be and like, nobody knew, like, the people that knew were like my contributors
Yeah.
because they'd be like, oh, I have a headache. I don't think I could do tomorrow. And I'd be like, I'm literally in a hospital getting dialysis right now. So I came back for this one interview with you. So you can't do tomorrow? Cause I would really rather be home. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, I did share that stuff. But
No, I can see, I can almost see like, you weighing the options and like the truth is there is no other option, right? So I
Yeah.
admire that you put it out there and I know that it wasn't easy. Like even you just follow someone's career and I've been like kind of, quietly rooting for you even though we never talk. It's like every time I've seen you on like a national anything, I'm like, oh my God, it's Cristina. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the same with you, Sarah. Like I'm so
Yeah.
impressed with what you're doing now. But like when I saw you like in just broadcast, like when you were moving down the 401.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
when you came to Toronto and you were working on the up and down on the radio dial, like I'm really proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
Like
I'm so proud of
props to you. And like you're just making your own. And I love it. I love that you do that.
I would love to know about some of the more recent projects you're working on that people can find right now to check out too.
Yeah. We had this unit called Veracity. And so we were making these 1-hour long documentaries, which is something that like they were real documentaries that like news stations don't typically do in Canada. Like we see documentaries like on CBC and stuff, but not, and you might see a W5 and things, but like these were like proper films. And so that was a really great opportunity. Like I got to go, I wanted to explore the gun problem, right? Because we had the strictest gun laws. Why do we have so many shootings? And so like I actually found a gun smuggler. And then I talked to the cops for the first ever interview where the guy whose job it is to trace guns. And so I have, I got my gun license and I learned how to shoot a gun. And I went through the whole process because I wanted to see it from every angle, right? I spoke with gun violence victims and that was a good one. And then I spent a lot of time back in London working with sex trafficking victims. That was really cool because after when it was done, I ended up joining the organization as a board member because
which organization are we talking about?
The London Abused Women's Center. Yeah, LOC is great. And but before I even thought about working with them, just the work they were doing is sex trafficking. Like I was staking out sex trafficking hotspots with their former executive director. Like we were speaking with victims and doing things like that, but we were trying to we were pointing out all the signs that were happening at the hotel. Like this is a sign,
and this catch it before, yeah.
And we were showing and calling the police and seeing the interaction she got and like seeing how at this time, only 4 years ago, how little charges were being laid across the country. But yeah, prison moms and that was a good one. I went around to different prisons in Canada and spent time with moms who were trying to still raise their kids. Even though they were serving a life sentence or 20 years and still trying to raise their kids on the other side of the bars. But also it was COVID. So there was only a few babies in prisons, but we have babies in our prisons. Like
I wouldn't have known that.
I only found that out. And this is true honesty here. I love prisons and I love jails and I cover them all the time. But I was watching Wentworth on Netflix and there's a couple of episodes. There was a kid that's getting raised in the prison. And I'm like, I wonder if we did that. And we do. Like who knew? So, we went to Edmonton and got to see a little boy being raised in prison with his mom. And it was just like really cool because the kids are actually doing their mom's time. And so you kind of want to see that there's a value in having the child there. And it was just, I've had these great experiences, Sarah, that like, I think 20 years ago, I guess it wasn't 20 years ago, I guess 15 years ago when you and I met, I never would have thought, like, I would have thought you were meeting all the rock stars and hanging out like that. But I wouldn't have thought that I was like spending time in prisons and like trying to hunt down sex traffickers.
So I usually end the podcast by asking you to nominate couple women in your life who you admire in the media spotlight to come on a future episode. I feel like you dropped a couple names earlier on, and feel free to like just, you know, come back to them and why their story may be amazing to tell on this podcast.
Like Cynthia Mulligan, like she went public with her cancer scares before going public with your health scares was popular, right? Like she's gone through the ringer, and like she's the kind of woman that she started at this station when she was like 20 years old. She's been here for 30 years. She just earned the Lifetime Achievement Award by the RTNDA last year, I think, 2 years ago. And like she lifts up. Like she's one of those, now she's the permanent anchor. And like we actually have an anchor at this station. This is their job. But she lifts up not just women, but like reporters and journalists and anybody here, but like she actually lifts up people. Like she makes you want to strive for higher. And that's a really nice thing, especially in a very complicated and competitive environment.
Oh yeah. And not to mention male dominant, but who's the other woman you mentioned earlier too?
Avery Haynes.
Yes. Yeah. Avery. You know what? She's come up as a nomination a couple times. It's basically like, for me, it's Sarah, time to get on it.
Yeah, no, Avery's great.
I'd love to chat with her. Yeah.
Yeah, she was at W5. Now they call it Avery Haynes Investigates. She does some crazy stuff. Yeah. Like her and her wife do crazy things. Like her wife works for Médecins Sans Frontières a lot. And so they're constantly going into like terrorism zones and war zones. And like, she's gone into one of the works that she just won massive awards. Like she was in the jungle with guerrilla fighters. Like she has no fear.
And no limits. Yeah.
Yeah. That's 100% her.
I will take a connect if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will 100% do that.
It's been so great catching up. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing now.
Thank you.
We are going to find you a kidney. There is no other option. We are finding you a kidney. If you got O blood, you get in touch, please.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much for sharing and so openly.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
If you are willing to part with a kidney, you need to send me a DM or at least share a link to this episode in your network. Let's find Cristina a kidney. You will find more information about Cristina, her story, and her work in the show notes and at womeninmedia.network. Follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast app if you haven't already. And thank you so much for listening.